We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're covering Freedom Fest, and we're here honored to be joined by Steve Forbes, former Republican candidate for governor, of course, Forbes magazine, the former Forbes publishing empire. Good to see you. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
Before we talk about politics in general, I just want to talk about the concept of, if for some reason, Mr. Forbes, it seems like the accumulation of wealth has become a bad thing. A lot of people talk about the 1%, and it's evil to be rich. And for some reason, we've demonized wealth and success. You're obviously a successful publisher and a wealthy man. Where do you think this comes from, and what is the point of all this?
I think it's a reflection of the stagnation in the economy and the feeling that things aren't really going to get much better, and the fear that future generations aren't going to do as well as this one. When times are booming, you don't care how well Bill Gates does if you're moving up and you feel you've got a good life in front of you. So it reflects the growing pessimism and unease about where we're going.
Where are we going in your mind right now in 2014?
2014 will do a little better, but it's like a baseball player raising his average from 180 to 220. Not going to get you in the World Series.
Right.
And so we're going to have to wait to after the elections this year and then 2016 to get the major reforms, including a sound dollar, to get our American economy moving again.
We saw in Seattle the implementation of a $15 minimum wage, and we saw even liberal business owners saying, you got to be kidding me, we can't do this. And now they're even trying to fight back and maybe even repeal it. Talk about the minimum wage idea in this country and why, some people say it should be $25 or whatever. But where are you on minimum wage laws?
Well, this again reflects the tone of the times. People know most that that does not work, that's going to just bring in more automation and deprive jobs of the people who need it most, which are young people who don't have the background that upper income people do. So it's going to hurt those who have the least. But again, it's a reflection. Wages aren't going up, so let's pass a law declaring that wages go up. Everyone shall be richer. And this reflects the bankruptcy of the economic policies, the counterproductive economic policies that we see out of Washington.
Let's say you were president right now. I know you ran twice for it, but let's say you were president of Forbes right now. What would you have done differently? I'm sure other than, we could be here all day, of what you would have done differently than President Obama. But just talk about the basic, fundamental financial issues. What would you have done and be doing differently?
One is get the politicians out of the U.S. dollar, to have a sound dollar again, relink it to gold as we did for 180 years to the early 1970s, get real credit markets working, especially for small and new businesses. Second, have a radically simplified tax code, like a flat tax, so we don't spend 6 billion hours a year filling out tax forms on something nobody understands, equivalent of 3 million full-time jobs. And the biggest source of corruption in Washington. Half the lobbying revolves around the tax code. And the third big thing is allow patients to control health care again. We're going through a tumult in health care now. Obamacare is imploding. We're not going to go back to what we had before, but we're getting in place, I think, and we got to push in the next 3 years where the patient's in charge, like patients buy their own food, they can buy their own health care, and if people have problems with getting food, we have food banks and food stamps to deal with it. Have the same kind of effective safety net in health care, but get real entrepreneurship in, and then you'd see this country take off like a rocket.
When you hear President Obama say you didn't build that, which is pretty much a direct smackdown of entrepreneurs, and you hear the argument, well, people shouldn't have their own private companies because they use government roads and they use government services to build their companies, how do you diffuse that argument?
Well, Steve Jobs created iPads and iPods and iPhones not because of the federal government. It was out of the creativity of his own mind. Same thing with Bill Gates, same thing with Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. Henry Ford went through 2 painful bankruptcies and almost a third before he created a car that could sell in the public and turn what was a toy for the rich into something every working person could afford. So entrepreneurs do it. Government does not create wealth. Government can take wealth, it can redistribute wealth, but it does not create wealth. It is a wealth destroyer. We have to put up with it because of human nature. But when it goes beyond making sure we have sensible rules of the road, ends up doing us more harm than good.
When as you ran yourself for president, when you look at right now, you look at a lot of the warfare in the GOP, the different factions, different parties. What will it take to get the Tea Party to be happy with the GOP establishment, to be happy with the Rhinos, to be happy with this faction, this faction? Will everyone come together in the common cause of fixing Washington?
Well, American political parties are always uneasy groups together. Has been true for 150 years, so that's not changed. But I think the key thing is getting a good candidate in 2016. Doesn't have to be the glamour of Ronald Reagan, but somebody who puts forth a very positive program, and that will unite the party. You look at my home state of New Jersey, Chris Christie brought together a party that was very fractious because he had a positive program. And we do that nationwide, and I think we will. I think we'll get it right this time, unlike last time.
When you see a Governor Christie and you see him at like the town halls and fighting back against some of the teachers' unions and some of the more vocal opponents of his, do you like that style of politics, or do you feel it's a little over the line?
Well, he's doing what everyone says they want leaders to do, and that is take positions, try to persuade. He doesn't have to do those town hall meetings. He goes there and say, come at me, let's discuss this. And we need more of that. And there are a lot of other good governors out there. Scott Walker of Wisconsin dealt with real crisis, done real positive things. Bobby Jindal in Louisiana and other governors. So I think we've got a good bench going into 2016.
Last question, sir. I know you're very busy here. The Forbes empire, the Forbes publishing, of course, for the iconic Forbes magazine. Everything's digital now. Everything is, everyone reads Forbes on their iPad. How far are we removed from the elimination of paper? Will Forbes magazine on paper be around for X number? If you had to fill in the blank, how much longer will it be around before people just read everything online and print and paper is done?
Paper will be around for a long, long time, and as long as there's government, paper will be around for infinity. But even though people do more reading digital, we've effectively integrated the two at Forbes. So Forbes magazine continues to do well in terms of paid circulation. Online, we're doing very well. We have over 50 million unique visitors a month. So one doesn't preclude the other. But yes, we'll do more digitizing. Even for reading. I mean, I used to have to take 10 books along when I went on a long trip. Now it's a few ounces. It's great.
Steve Forbes, it's an honor to talk to you, sir. Thanks for your time on NRA News.
Appreciate it. Thank you.